What's up everyone, welcome to another episode of Garage Topics. In today's episode, the Corvette's gonna hit the rollers, it's gonna hit the dyno, and we're gonna go over what numbers it made. Hint, they're really, really big numbers. Club Duty Fresh, let's go! In the most recent episode of the Corvette saga, we put the engine back in, we put it in from the actual hood, not from the bottom, went over that whole process. And since it's a brand new engine rebuild, we had to get it broken in. So Matt was gracious enough from MCR Tuning to come over to my house and actually get a load tune in it, get it started. Not only did that prove that we didn't have any leaks or anything, but also got the pistons and everything kind of broken in a little bit. It was enough to putz around. We putzed around the block and it felt a whole lot better than what it did before. But actually running and driving with the car is a totally different story, so it needed to be fully dyno tuned. Not only is a dyno tune going to make sure that wide open throttle makes the most horsepower and torque that it can safely, but it also makes sure that you can do driving around town if that's what you want to do. So this is what this car is for. So like partial throttle, different situations, whether you're hitting the gas and loads and what gear you're in, etc. It takes a lot of tuning, so it takes time no matter how you cut it. But if you got the right pieces in the car, it'll make for a lot smoother transition. So I'm gonna cut some footage here of us actually loading it up on the trailer. So we got the car loaded up, and Matt was gracious enough to come by and help me out with that, so big shout out to him. Got the car up, it was probably at 45 minutes away. His shop is up in Horse Cave, Kentucky. I'm down here in Bowling Green, Kentucky, so about 40-45 minutes. He picked it up, and once we picked it up and was at his shop, I actually was out of town for a couple days doing some snowboarding. Check Instagram if you want to see some of that footage. But I had full faith in him that he was going to do the great job, and he kept me updated throughout the whole process, which was all you can ask for with a tuner. Not only did he give me updates, but he also got me some video content too, which you'll see here in a second. He did the first startup and did a couple just baseline runs, nothing crazy, but he decided to do a full pull without the full vetted tune going on as far as maximum horsepower, and it made a crazy number. It made 430 horsepower just without him doing anything major yet, which I thought he was joking because that's way more than I thought out of a stock throttle body stock intake. Nothing crazy besides a cam and some head stuff, and it has 11:1 compression, so a little bit more than 10.5, but basically pretty close to stock LS6, especially for how small it is, 5.7 versus 6 liter or 6.2. That was crazy. But here's some footage of the dyno footage. Big piece is that dyno footage, dyno tuning, if you will. It's not all about just making tons of power and tons of torque. It's also about making sure the car is drivable in daily situations if that's what you're planning on doing with the car. It's one thing to just mat the gas and make that power. That's great. But when you're doing partial throttle, throttle on different loads, what gear you're in, temperatures, etc., that makes a huge difference. So that's a big component of tuning that sometimes people forget. But take a look at the footage. Take a guess right now what the maximum power was, but I'm gonna put it up at the end. It was crazy. Alright, I'm gonna go pick up the Corvette. Keith's driving. My man, helping me out. I can drive it, but it has a little bit of a leak, which we'll get into more, and it's really cold and salty, so we're just gonna trailer it back there, all the back. Let's go take a look at the car. the torque was very flat, meaning that you're going to have all that almost 400 so foot-pounds of torque almost instantly at any time, which is crazy. That's going to make daily driving really nice and make it a lot of fun. It'll feel really good driving, which is what I was going for more so than numbers. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad that it made the numbers that it did. 441 horsepower, 400 foot-pounds of torque. But it's just going to be a really nice driving car, and I'm really excited to get going with it. So the car is back in the garage. You're basically wondering why haven't I done a test drive yet? There's a couple small interior stuff I need to get done. I haven't done the stereo yet. That's going to be another video. Let me pop the hood, take a look what's going on underneath here. Made sure everything's fine. I need some extra bolts down here, missing those. For the most part, everything is great underneath here. There is one thing that is stopping me from making a review video, which probably what I was hoping for to do right now. I'm going to show you, hopefully. Let's see. Hey, you really can't see it. So you can't see it, but we saw this when we did the initial startup, and I hinted towards it in some of these videos. There's a leak, and I've tried to pinpoint exactly where it's coming from, and I've pinpointed enough to know that it's nothing that's going to be easy, unfortunately. So it's either the rear main seal or the rear cover seal has a leak, and it only happens when you're revving it. Just sitting here, it won't leak a drop. When you're just idling, it won't leak. But when you're really revving it, it starts to leak decently. Not heavily, but decently. I thought it was the cam sensor, because the cam sensor goes into where the bell housing at. The leak's coming from the bell housing. It's not that. I changed that seal out and the actual sensor itself. It's not coming from there. So unfortunately, the engine and the torque tube has to be separated now, and I'm not looking forward to it, but at least it's different than what I just did with the engine. This I can fix. It's not that expensive of a fix. We're gonna diagnose it exactly what is exactly wrong with it. And there's a part of me that wants to look at everything in the back here, especially the other day. You won't be able to see it. The CV axle in here, the clamp has gotten loose, and it's put a bunch of, it's put a ton of grease from that CV axle everywhere in here. So that is no good. We'll get that fixed up when we take it all out. So that's the next video. We're gonna take the trans tunnel, the torque tube, all the rear cradle out, get to the rear main seal. I'll show you step by step how we're doing that. In some cases, sometimes we'll just do a time lapse, but that's all it's gonna take to get this thing running. I've driven it around the block a couple times with it as is, and it feels great, but I don't wanna push on it too much because you need to change the oil. The oil in it currently is the break-in oil. There's little microscopic pieces of metal in it, and you need to get that out and put new oil in it, but if we're gonna be changing the seals, you need to drain the oil anyway. So now's the perfect time. We're still in the winter right here when we made this video, so we've got time before spring. It's a weird, freakish weather of 60 degrees in winter, so I'm gonna take the time now to get this fixed so we can actually start driving it, making cool videos, doing more upgrades, doing cool things with this car, because that's the whole point of this car, is to do as many car activities as we can, do cool mods, do cool events, and have a little bit of fun as well. So that's, I'm glad we got the good horsepower numbers. The car runs great. Just a small little hiccup that's gonna prevent us from going full on out, but we're gonna get to it, we're gonna cover it, and once we're done that, we're gonna be driving the crap out of it. It's gonna be super club dirty fresh. I'm happy, I'm excited, because the potential of this is great. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Tell your dog to subscribe. If you don't have a dog, think about adopting a dog, because that's the good way to do it. That's all I got. Keep it fresh. Club Dirty Fresh. Peace out.